My name's Duncan Smith and I'm the founder of a consultancy called iCompli Limited. Since 2004, we've been helping organisations comply with information law and privacy. Today we're going to be talking about law, and there are a myriad interpretations of the legislation at the moment. Obviously the final arbiter in this is generally legal counsel, so of course we always recommend that you seek legal counsel. But it is important that what you do is you understand as much as you possibly can about the legislation, but then recognising when you get to the end of your knowledge, and when you reach the end of your knowledge, that's the time to reach out to your legal counsel and seek further advice. So if you've chosen consent as the basis for processing and you're out doing lead generation, if you're looking or researching on the internet, so you're looking on some of the obviously popular social media platforms like LinkedIn, for example, in the B2B environment, acquiring consent is going to be near on impossible, simply because the way we obtain consent, we obtain it directly from the individual. So when we place our information on LinkedIn, we don't consent to other organisations processing data for their purpose. What we do is we consent to LinkedIn processing data for their purposes. So if we're going to be researching and doing lead generation off of publicly available sources, we need to be very clear that just because information is in the public domain doesn't mean to say that you have an individual's consent to use it. The B2B list research or researching in terms of lead generation needs to be done under legitimate interest. And it needs to be done carefully under legitimate interest, because the expectation of individuals is not necessarily going to be that you have their data. So we need to think carefully about how you present people with all the right information once you've obtained their information. Within GDPR, this is known as Article 14, and what it does is it places an emphasis on the data controller that's acquiring the information to ensure that within a set period of time on first disclosure or on first communication, that these people that we've acquired from these public sources becomes aware of who we are, what we're doing with their data, and most importantly, that we present them with an opportunity to exercise their rights that they wouldn't have had we not got in touch with them and said, hey, we've acquired your information from a public source. It's up to us to make a decision on how to make that communication, and that communication always has to be balanced. And we have to understand that if we're using legitimate interests, we have to be very careful to ensure that our desire to collect the data and sell to somebody doesn't override those individuals, what they call their fundamental rights and freedoms, which essentially puts the emphasis on us to ensure that that first communication with them is very clear. It doesn't say that it has to be a legal email that says, in accordance with Article 14 GDPR, you are hereby afforded the rights. So we can use it as a communication, as a sales message, but we have to actively bring to the attention of those individuals, essentially driving them to a privacy notice where it's very clear, in a GDPR sense, why we've got their data, where we've got it from, and on what legal basis we're processing their data. So it's important for us, for example, to tell them that we're using the legitimate interest of direct marketing, and the law actually calls out the fact that we should be then providing that individual with how we made that decision. So what we would refer to as a legitimate interest assessment balancing test.